This news program is proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Now Biscuits.
Air New Guinea purchased 6 new aircrafts from USA. PNG Australia Alumni Association celebrate 2023. And Department of Personnel Management signs MOU with NRI. Good evening, thank you for joining us. This is National EMTV News. I'm Godwin Eki. The national airline Air New Guinea is currently investing in additional fleet, manpower, skills and capacity to improve schedule integrity. Air New Guinea Acting Chief Executive Officer Gary Sedon said they are looking forward to bringing in 6 additional aircrafts before end of this year, which is purchased at a cost of 50 million kina.
Over the last 12 months, Air New Guinea has moved in excess of 2.2 million passengers and delivered over 2,000 flights every month, but the major challenge was the cancellation and delays of flights. Air New Guinea Acting Chief Executive Officer confirmed that within the next few months, Air New Guinea will bring in additional aircraft to solve all the challenges faced.
Now, I appreciate that in some instances that does cause frustration with our passengers, our very valued passengers, in the form of delays, disruptions and cancellations. We are working tirelessly to overcome some of those challenges through the employment of additional fleet. Suffice to say that the safety of operations, the standards that we adhere to, are ones that we're not prepared to compromise.
He stressed that they are purchasing these 6 aircrafts at the cost of 50 million kina.
The 4 that we're purchasing are around about 50 million kina. We're purchasing them second-hand, but they're good aircraft. I have a team over in the United States at the moment that are assessing the documentation and of the aircraft before we take steps to work with CASA PNG and our teams here to onboard those aircraft. The two 737-800, which are a narrow-body regional jet, will be leasing those aircraft, and those costs are not too dissimilar to the ones that we currently pay for the existing 737.
He thanked the PNG government for its support in providing reliable, affordable and accessible air transport services in the country, which is the benefit of the livelihood and welfare of the citizens of this country.
Going investment program supported by Papua New Guinea, and which will see us investing just over $1 billion in new aircraft that will join the company over the course of the next 5 years. It's both wide-body aircraft, we've made announcements in the press recently, and also our narrow-body aircraft, which we look to make announcements in the coming weeks.
He also thanked the Air New Guinea customers and apologizes for the delays and cancellation of flights.
And I do apologize on behalf of the company, the management and board, of those disruptions that occur, and that we are working to improve our record.
Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
The PNG Australia Alumni Association hosted its 2023 annual dinner on Thursday at the Stanley Hotel in Port Moresby. The theme of the event was strengthening PNG and Australia, Road to 50 and beyond. In recognizing the achievements of Papua New Guineans that have studied in Australia and have impacted the lives of their fellow Papua New Guineans in their own small ways, to making life easier, to helping local communities and bringing some form of change through health, education, infrastructure, innovation, business and employment, their achievements were celebrated at the 2023 PNG Australia Alumni Association dinner in Port Moresby. On the night, Prime Minister James Marape thanked the Australian government for their continued support in helping Papua New Guineans thrive in terms of education and the many successes those individuals have achieved over time after completing their education.
And I just want to take this time to thank Australia government and Australian people. You never protested and held us back. I want to step back and thank the Right Honourable Golf Whitlam for heeding to the call of the father of this country, Sir Michael Thomas Somare and his generation, when the cry came out for us to separate to be an independent sovereign state. The Australian government did not protest or stood in the way. You allowed for sovereignty to be granted at September 16, 1975. Thank you very much, Australia.
Keynote speaker on the night, Chancellor of the Australian National University, Julie Bishop, took time to highlight the bond and friendship between PNG and Australia have had over time before and after the country's independence in 1975.
This is a relationship that is built on trust and respect and friendship. Yes, it's an economic and trade and investment and strategic partnership, but it has the deepest and most abiding people-to-people links that have been developed over generations, and we owe it to those who've gone before us and those who are yet to come to ensure that this relationship, this bilateral relationship, remains strong and broad and deep and diverse. And that's what we should all seek to achieve in the next few years.
Australia's High Commissioner to PNG, John Philp, also added that the support given to individuals has only made Papua New Guineans stronger and helped broaden their mindsets in the real world and the efforts they have invested to not only improve their own lives, but that of their people as well.
So these programs are important to individuals, not just because of what they represent in terms of academic qualifications, but because the ideas you can get, where you take them, what happens to them, what you can do to make them grow.
The night ended with presentation to the awardees of the 2021 to 2022 alumni recipients who picked up an award each. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News. Meanwhile, Australian High Commissioner to PNG, John Philp, said when it comes to education, women should also be given the opportunity. He said this at the 2023 PNG Australia Alumni Association dinner in Port Moresby on Thursday.
The most important determinant in a family of educational outcomes for children, boys and girls, is the mother's educational achievements. That's to say, the higher education the woman has, the mother has, the higher education attainments children are likely to have. That's a global statistic. And in this, men are not relevant, statistically speaking. Women are. So when we educate women, we're not just providing those women with the skills they need to lead and prosper and to be entrepreneurs. We're also setting up the next generation for success in education as well. And that's worth thinking about in itself.
A memorandum of understanding on the development of public service housing policy was signed today between the National Research Institute and the Department of Personnel Management. This MOU intends to encourage and support performance by public service sector, and this must be supported by evidence-based research.
Researchers and officials from the Department of Personnel Management gathered at the NRI Conference Hall for this significant signing ceremony. Under this MOU, a consultancy service agreement will be in place, which the National Research Institute will collaborate with the Department of Personnel Management to provide technical advice on policy research on the public service housing policy. Director of NRI, Dr. Osborne Sanida, elaborates on the significance of this MOU signing.
there have been different attempts by different organizations in government trying to address the issue of housing. But some of them have not worked well. For example, the Duran Farm we have had. So I believe that this one is focused on public service housing.
Secretary for the Department of Personnel Management, Thais Sansan, explained that initiatives of this sort can boost public servants' performance.
That will give the leeway for public servants if they want to apply for public service positions as well. At least, housing can be provided to accommodate the public servant and, their families.
Currently, Portion 1212 at Bomana should have a policy in place to guide the management of the institutional housing, hence giving public servants an opportunity to apply for the home ownership scheme. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Provincial Police Commander for North Fly Command Chief Inspector Owena Afeke wants firm rules to be imposed on shops selling liquor without license in North Fly District of Western Province, affirming that high crime rate comes from alcohol-related fights, accidents and others.
He says people are continuing to be involved in alcohol consumption, which is not good in towns and the community. PPC Afeke is urging the residents in towns and the local villages within the district to refrain from such activities and to become good citizens. He further went on to mention that drug trafficking has increased in Western Province. Therefore, police officers in Kiunga, Tabubil and Ningerum are on high alert. The police commander has warned the people of Western Province, particularly part of Middle Fly and North Fly districts, that anyone found drinking publicly as well as smuggling drugs will be dealt with accordingly. Natasha Ovoy, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break with more stories. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. Tamata and Kira local level governments in Sohe district of the Northern Province will soon witness new road developments into their respective villages. Member for Sohe Henry Johns Amuli said up to 8 heavy equipment machineries for roadworks will be shipped over to the province for launching and for work to eventually commence.
Member Amuli was at the Motukea Wharf today to personally inspect the heavy machineries bound for the Sohe electorate.
We got the first lots of machine in, and we're still expecting a couple more to come in to help us, and we can deliver.
According to the member, his key priority areas for now are roads, as there are no road links into part of the Tamata and rural Kira LLGs.
We have a couple of communities isolated. There's no road networks. So these machines, once we have them launched, we will decide where we start. But our priority now is to connect into Aika in Tamata LLG, Binadere in Yoma or Tamata LLG, and connect up to Bia and Mawai in Kira LLG.
More than 25,000 people in rural Kira and Tamata LLGs will greatly benefit from this anticipated road development project that is said to commence soon. These heavy machineries were purchased just over 3 million kina by the District Development Authority funds. All 5 wards in Kira LLG and 17 wards in the Tamata LLG will be the first to witness this road development project. Sohe electorate is made up of Higaturu, Kokoda, Kira and Tamata LLGs. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Warrior District in Morobe has received funding support from the Department of National Planning and Monitoring to help achieve the new district's development aspirations. Minister for National Planning and Monitoring, Rainbow Paita, yesterday presented 5 million kina to the district and said his department will continue to support the district.
Minister Paida said the district was formed under the then Marape Basil government. The current Marape Rosso government will continue to provide support to the district in terms of development. Minister Paida said there are many challenges as the electorate is new. The minister said the government under the leadership of Prime Minister James Marape has agreed for the new district to be formed and they will give extra care to Wow Warrior, including other new districts. Wow Warrior MP Marsh Narewek thanked Paida and his department for some previous funding which were used for projects in the district. He said the 5 million kina funding given will be used in developing and upgrading schools in the district. Narewek said the money will be used to build Wow Vocational Center, upgrade Wow Primary School to Wow Junior High School, and upgrade Grace Memorial Secondary to Technical Secondary School. The funding was given after the district set for its development forum this week, which saw government departments, the people, ward councillors and LLG presidents and development partners gather to discuss development plans for the new district. Natasha Ovoy, National EMTV News.
The National Airlines Employees Association has declared its 4 executive members today at the Air Niugini Apartments in Port Moresby. These 4 new executives were declared by the returning officer Desmond Timiaso after conducting election for 3 months.
The 4 new executives of the National Airlines Employees Association were the President, Senior Vice President, Junior Vice President, and the Treasurer.
The independent state of Papua New Guinea.
The acting Chief Executive Officer of Air Niugini, Gary Seddon, in congratulating the new executives, stated that this declaration has prevailed the democratic process.
It demonstrates an ability to have fair representation within the workplace. And it is certainly reassuring from the executive and an employee of Air Niugini myself that an association of such standing and respect can be accorded this process of representing our employees, our valued employees.
The re-elected President Joe Mondo Kasper said this is an opportunity for him to come back and sort outstanding issues as they have 2 negotiations that are still on the table, which is cabin crew negotiation and retirement of employees.
The management was so good for us, and they gave us last year when we signed the award, part 1, they gave us a lot of most of the things, most of our proposal in the award, which is around 20, which is very significant for any trade union in the country. A lot of guys are always, a lot of the unions, it's always only one or never. But my executive, during our term, we asked for 20 changes in the award, and the company honored it.
The Industrial Registrar Ellen Saleau challenged the executive, saying it's not easy to get into the task of managing union. Therefore, they have to work within the law and within the rules and constitution of the union.
The agreements that you sign between the employer and the employee organization, the agreements there set the principles of negotiations and how to arrive at an amicable resolution.
Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the kina closed unchanged at $0.2800 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.2725 US, $0.4088 Australian dollars, $0.2432 euro, 39.8 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York closed, gold is trading lower, coffee closed lower, cocoa closed lower, copra closed lower, palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading higher, and copper closed lower. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. World Record Book System provides an accurate data and information in the country. It captures important socio-economic and demographic information within a particular ward. The Deputy Secretary for the Department of Provincial and Local Level Government Affairs, Larsen Thomas, said this today in Port Moresby.
Mr. Larsen Thomas spoke on the aim of the Ward Record Book System and the progress made so far using this system.
So after completing it, we will do a validation and verification process, and to put on record, we have covered almost 95% or 96% of data collection and data entry into the database system for New Ireland province. So now the next approach that they're taking is part of validation and verification, and they're going into giving face to the name.
He stated that for the verification stage, the department will assist in getting equipment to ensure this phase takes place. For further clarification on the recording system, he stated the key differences of the Ward Recording Book System and the census, stating that the Ward Recording Book System is more detailed.
That's the key difference, and we capture everything. For census, it also captures socioeconomic data in a census ward, a census unit, they call it. But the key difference is this: it happens on a certain point of time in a 10-year period.
The MOU signed today between the Eastern Highlands Provincial Government and the Department of Provincial and Local Level Government Affairs was witnessed by the Electoral Commissioner, Simon Sinai, among others. Natasha Ovoy, National EMTV News.
Moving to overseas news now, almost 50 flights have been cancelled from Sydney because of strong winds disrupting a school holiday and weekend travel plans yesterday due to a shortage of the air traffic controllers.
Well, we understand there's been strong, gusty westerly winds forecast for this area, which has constrained Sydney Airport to what's called a single runway protocol, constraining all flights to the one runway, which has impacted, like you said, almost 50 flights, delayed many as well, impacting travel plans for people travelling on all airlines, including Qantas and Virgin here today.
And this comes at a really inconvenient time for travellers.
That's right. Today is the last day of the school term for students in New South Wales, so coming into that busy school holiday period, throwing out a lot of plans for many travellers here at Sydney Airport coming into that period. Also weekend travel plans for many who've had their flights delayed or cancelled. It's been a frustrating morning for many people down here. We spoke to some of the people who have been impacted by that.
We haven't been told anything. We've just went to check in and it says come to the desk. So we don't know yet. Oh, yes, we have a weekend in Melbourne. So I guess we wouldn't be going.
It was a little bit daunting, a little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. And I don't know the reason behind it. That's the worst thing about it. So if they get to the bottom of it, it'll be great to hear. So.
Victoria has experienced its second earthquake in a month, with thousands reporting feeling the tremor which hit east of Melbourne.
It feels like just yesterday I was reporting on the fact there was an earthquake in Melbourne overnight, and indeed there was another one overnight again. This time a 4.6 magnitude earthquake rocked Melbourne's high country near Rawson, 135 kilometres northeast of Melbourne. Now this one was felt at a depth of around 3 kilometres at around 1:30 a.m. this morning. Now thousands of Victorians got that rude awakening this morning, shaking up out of their beds, hearing the tremors throughout their homes. Geoscience Australia says now 8,000 people have reported to their website saying they felt the earthquake overnight and experienced it in their own homes. Of course, people as far and wide as Melbourne's east and southeast felt it, but people right here in the CBD where I'm standing this morning also felt the earthquake as well. Of course, earthquake Twitter erupted once again. People flocked to social media in the early hours of this morning asking questions of, did you just feel what I just felt? Did we really experience yet another earthquake here in Melbourne? Our local radio lines were erupting this morning as well. Callers calling in saying they thought it was a dream. They couldn't believe that we were experiencing yet another earthquake.
Police and protesters have clashed on the outskirts of Paris during a march for the 17-year-old boy that was shot dead by police earlier this week.
In Nanterre today, thousands gathered to mark the void left by one local teenager and the rage that flowed in to fill it. The violence here last night still mapped onto the surrounding streets in ash and debris. Niall's mother leading a chant of police assassins. Evan came from a suburb on the other side of Paris, but the problems there were just the same, he said.
We don't have jobs. We don't get hired if we don't lie on our CV. There's nothing for us. We feel abandoned. And on top of that, we get attacked by the people who are supposed to protect us. This is one offence too many.
Others here told us their own teenage sons had been mistreated by police. One said the violence following Niall's death was justified.
I wouldn't be surprised if the trouble continues as long as there are no consequences for this police officer. I'm not in the heads of the young people, but what's happening here is justified. The police are the delinquents here, not our youth. Parents are doing everything they can.
France's Interior Minister said it was time for the violence to stop.
Last night's riots and burning a school, a town hall, a social centre, that has nothing to do with what happened in Nanterre. Those responsible for the troubles should now go home.
U.S. Supreme Court has struck down affirmative action policies that had allowed universities to use race as a deciding factor in their admissions.
This case focused on the admissions policies of Harvard College and the University of North Carolina. They each receive tens of thousands of applications every year from people wanting to attend. They only choose a small fraction of them, and to decide who gets in, they use a very competitive admissions process that can include taking a student's race into account. Now, they argue that that was only ever one consideration and that it was aimed at increasing the number of students on campus from underrepresented groups. But the policies were challenged by an organisation called Students for Fair Admissions, which argued that the programs were discriminatory, including against Asian Americans who they said were being disadvantaged in comparison to Black and Hispanic students. Now, the majority Conservative Supreme Court has today upheld those challenges. It has found that using race as a factor in deciding admissions is in breach of the Constitution and that it cannot continue, although it has said that universities can, for example, consider an essay written by a student that discusses how race has affected their life. The justices on the court were split on ideological lines. Liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote a scathing dissenting opinion in which she argued that this would roll back decades of progress. She said that these sorts of policies are needed because people from underrepresented groups are more likely to live in poverty or to attend disadvantaged high schools. But the majority of the justices on the Supreme Court disagreed with that view, and the group that brought these challenges in the first place has welcomed this ruling.
There are calls for NATO members to agree on a nuclear pathway for Ukraine's membership at next month's summit in Lithuania.
NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg says the Wagner Group's rebellion has revealed cracks and divisions in Russia and highlights Ukraine's need for future protection. Speaking in Brussels ahead of a two-day summit with EU leaders, he says NATO will continue to support Ukraine.
The mutiny we saw at the weekend demonstrates that there are cracks and divisions within the Russian system. At the same time, it is important to underline that these are internal Russian matters. And it's too early to draw any final conclusions, also because it's not yet clear how many of the Wagner forces that will end up in Belarus or other places. What matters for NATO is that we will continue to support Ukraine.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says membership to the alliance is vital, not just for Ukraine, but so no other European nation suffers the same fate.
We must honestly admit peace in Europe is the alliance, so that the aggression against one or another European nation never repeats again. Euro-Atlantic institutions must really protect peace. And now it is real, only together with Ukraine, which will be free, strong, and of course in NATO.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. With 24 types of sports mainly played in the country and 44 plus sports federations consisting of several young, vibrant talents, there is great need for financial stability for sports in the country. This was expressed by the Minister for Dehest and Sports, Don Pollier.
Minister Pollier stressed on the good sports contributes into human development of a country, socially as well as mentally. He stated that noticing this, the PNG Sports Foundation, along with the PNG Olympic Committee and other responsible authorities, drafted a cabinet paper for his ministry to present, appealing for assistance from the National Gaming Control Board.
The Prime Minister did see the logic to have money that comes in through the National Gaming Board resonate to developing sportsmanship and sportswomanship in Papua New Guinea, to develop through all those modes of sports and also sports leadership. We have to have money come in to sustain these activities. Therefore, although my team here did propose for a 5% to be given across directly to the Papua New Guinea Sports Federation from National Gaming Board, the Cabinet, in its wisdom, under the leadership of the Honourable Prime Minister, which I thank him so much, for doubling it to 10%.
However, he stressed that although granted by NEC, physical and organizational structures have to be in place to access such funds. He assured that preparations are underway in doing so.
But to get money through, we have to create a structure, the fiscal structure, and also the organizational structure. Fiscal structure involves things like a trust board that looks after the money. What's the trust the money goes into? Who are the management people who manage that? And how do the federations, they have access to it, to have some benefit that come out of it? How do we develop the infrastructure that we have here, like in Port Moresby, in Leyte, and in Gorg and other places?
He acknowledged the NEC and the Prime Minister for accepting the PNG sports community's appeal. He made these statements during the PNG Sports Foundation Leadership Workshop yesterday in Port Moresby. Natasha Ovoy, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Still in overseas sports, in AFL, the Brisbane Lions have thrashed the Richmond Tigers by 81 points in Brisbane.
The Lions' contested ball dominance and improved defensive pressure was on full display in their 134-53 win last night. Richmond was hit with a hamstring injury for Jaden Short and the pre-game loss of Dustin Martin due to illness. The loss has dented the team's chance at a spot in the top 8.
In cricket, England's aggressive battling has given them much-needed momentum on day 2 of the second Ashes cricket test.
It does look pretty bad, Karina, I won't lie. It's so ironic, right? Nathan Lyon playing his 100th straight test, the first ever bowler to do that, which means he's been injury-free throughout this period, and it spans a long time. And then there's been a celebration around it. And then to see him go down the way he did, and you could see him pull up and immediately wince in pain. And then the physio was out there, and he was struggling to even leave the ground. He had to take the physio's help. He was hobbling. And we've just heard that he was taken for a scan to a nearby hospital tonight. We won't find out what the reports are till tomorrow morning. So we'll have to wait and watch, but it did not look very good, to be honest, not just in terms of his participation in the rest of this test match, but the rest of the series itself.
That ends Trukai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus, with you always.
Weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Southern region, Port Moresby mostly fine and cooler. Daru cloudy periods with possible drizzle and cooler. Kerema partly cooler with possible brief showers. Alatau partly cloudy and cooler tonight. Popondetta cloudy periods and possible brief showers. In the Mamase region, Lay some rain drizzles. Medang cloudy periods with few showers and possible thunderstorm. Wewak partly cloudy with few showers and possible thunderstorm. Vanimo cloudy periods with few showers. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau cloudy with few showers. Kavieng cloudy with some showers and possible thunderstorm. Kokopo and Rabau cloudy periods with some showers and possible thunderstorm. Kimbe cloudy periods with few showers. Buka some showers with possible thunderstorm. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen cloudy, cooler with some drizzle, then morning fog patches. Goroka and Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, cloudy periods and cold with some drizzle, then morning fog patches. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border to Daru, to Hood Point, to Port Moresby, to Samarai Islands, seas 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel and eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Cape Vogel to Ewan Gulf to Finschhafen, seas 1 to 2 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through BT's Dampier Straits to Siasi and Long Islands, seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters of Long Island to Medang to Wewak to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 1 to 2 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 1 to 2 meters. Waters of New Ireland to New Britain and Bougainville, seas 1.5 to 3 meters. And now looking at the ocean forecast, Coral Sea, seas fresh to rough, southeast winds of 20 to 33 knots. Solomon Sea, seas moderate to fresh southeast winds of 15 to 24 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to fresh southeast winds of 15 to 24 knots. And Pacific Ocean, seas light southeast to southwest winds of 10 to 15 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Friday, the 30th of June, 2023. From all of us here, have a safe weekend, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
This news program was proudly brought to you by
Smart Start breakfast biscuits, and Gold Nuggets.